Bunn Cappuccino machines. Bunn spelled B-U-N-N. Alright, today we've got one that isn't dispensing powder. We've got one that is causing us to have goopy mess. And so we've got a couple things we're going to have to take a peek on this. We are missing this plate, and inconveniently it's not on the inside, so we're going to have to try to locate something to put in this spot so we don't end up with straw wrappers and stuff in here. That's probably not going to get resolved today, but for the most part you can usually find the plate back in here and super glue it back into place. But we're going to just start going through these quick, and these are more of the analog or older units. They still sell this particular unit, but as a company we've switched over to digital. How do I know the difference? Well, if I come over here, this digital unit is here. Now there are two different versions of the digital unit. This is an older digital unit, you can tell by the display, which is going to have a different control board and a different wiring harness. So the newer one will have a smaller wiring harness and a different control board. You can't commingle the two. So if you have more of a blue screen, that'll be the newer style digital Bunn Cappuccino machine. And the difference between the two is all of our switching is actually not done here. It's done on the board to control our product. But on this older style unit, a little bit more of the control is actually through these buttons and then through the boards. But the boards are actually smaller. Check our times. Everything looks good. So on this particular unit, all of that is going through our control board, but these do wear out a lot quicker. So in this case, we have 4 wires going to each one of these buttons, which means our harness is going to be big. And this does count for the 3 and 5 head machines. There are analog units that are 3 head machines out there, and most 3 heads are actually digitals now. So, but we've kind of started taking this apart. A couple things as we're going through. We're missing some screws, so we're going to get some screws replaced on here. Our door latch system isn't working, so we'll take care of that. And what I've already noticed is when we run this particular unit, give him a shut. We're going to take him, and when we go and push that, we'll kind of go from here. I'm going to lightly press that button, and our gear motor is not driving. If I press the gear motor really hard, it starts to drive. We are getting whip and we are getting water, so we're doing good there. But if I back off on that switch, you can see, and all I'm doing, I'll show you on the switch itself. And this seems pretty basic, and I know for a lot of you that work on this equipment frequently, this is nothing new. This isn't crazy, but we'll actually, at this point, we would not be putting powder out. I would have to fully engage like that to get powder to go out. Most people are not going to push this machine with the force that I'm putting on this to get sugar-free French vanilla. So this button is bad, but on top of that, when you look at this machine, you see we've got black, black, white, black, black. The white ones were actually original runs. These are an older motor. So we're here today. These motors are really inexpensive. And by really inexpensive, I mean, I think they're like 50, 60 bucks. Realistically, a trip charge for this store at 50, 60 bucks, we should swap this out. Just seeing that it's an older unit, it's probably getting to the point where it needs to have that done. So would I do that every single one? No. The fact that it's not matching these other ones tells me I should probably swap this out and the button so I don't have to come back. That's what it's all about, not having to come back. So we're going to swap out those 2 parts quick, and then we'll revisit this. We shouldn't have to calibrate in this case. The other one we may have to calibrate depending on what we find wrong. So, well, let's get started. Alright, so here is our switch we are going to swap out. You can see they're pretty easy to swap out. You can see all of that harness that's in here. If you were to replace this wire harness, it does take a little bit of time. Maybe we'll find one of those someday and we can show that on camera, but I'm not going to swap one out just for funsies times. It's not exactly a great, easy job, but wire position is important, so that's something to keep in mind. You can't just put these wherever you want. And then the other thing to keep in mind is you should never work on this live. Theoretically, everything should be pretty touch safe in here, but why risk it? It's just not worth it. So we're going to get this machine unplugged and we're going to tackle this switch, and then we're going to tackle that motor. Alright, I'm going to try to do this one-handed. Wish me luck. So with these guys, I've been doing this long enough where you can kind of keep track of what goes with what. You'll look on these wire harnesses, and there's like little black, if you look on here, let's see if I can grab him, there's little black swirls on this one, and then if you look, there's no swirls on this one. And then this may shock you, the one with the black on it goes with the black wire, and the one without any of the swirls on it, or sometimes they'll have it like with a white wire or white coating on it as well, kind of like that black one is, goes with the white one. So that's how I keep track of what goes with what. That way you don't have to go and number everything. There's nothing wrong with numbering all of these and putting it back together the way it's supposed to go. I used to do that all the time. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I just, at this point, have learned the color sequence, and I just kind of take care of it. We're not saving the switch, so we're just going to break these two tabs off and then push them out. Now once we have it out, we want to save this green cover. The reason we want to do that is they go missing quite frequently, so we'll pop that off. That pops right off, and then we're going to take our new one, and he just pushes in from the front. So this is a really quick, easy job. And then like we said, white was on the left, so white on the left. His matching partner is the one without black stripes. Then the next one would be black. The next one would be the black, or the orange with the black stripe on it. All these went on really, really loose though. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back around and I'm gonna tighten up all these. All right, all I'm doing is taking my needle nose and I'm giving this a little squish, so they bite a little bit better. Anytime you're dealing with any sort of electrical connector and they get loose like that, you don't want it necessarily so unbearably tight that you can't move it, but it helps if they actually do grab. So I'm gonna do that with every single one of them. All right, all these are tightened up. That is the difference between, being here all the time and not having to come back. Little stuff like that makes a big difference, especially on an older piece of equipment. This isn't a brand new piece of equipment, but it still works great, and these parts are relatively inexpensive. So if you can tighten up these pieces and keep this machine rolling, it does such a great service to our customers and to our stores to keep this equipment rolling and keep it working. So that's done. The next thing I usually look at, if I had enough buttons on my truck, but I'm not going to because we're going to use a button on the other machine, is going through every single one of them and making sure they're all in good repair. We can see that this one has been replaced recently, this one has been replaced recently, now this middle one will be replaced recently. The last one that's probably going to go is going to be this one, but it all depends on sales. The more you sell, the more the button gets used, the more wear it's going to have. So something as simple as this is going to help out the store a lot. It's going to extend the life of this, keeps it from getting hot. Next part, we got to swap him out. There's a lot of different ways to do this. We can either go through the side of the machine with all this space we have here, or we can go from the front of the machine and we're going to go down and in here. I'm going to preface this by saying you can see this machine is clean, well taken care of. The age of this machine and how it looks is great. I'm going to pop this cover off and it's going to look not great. And that's nothing against the store. That is just how it goes. It's really hard to clean inside the machine. So keep that in mind. The way this machine is, there's nothing wrong with it. The store is doing a nice job taking care of it. But you can't clean the inside because you just can't. So when I take this apart, don't gasp. It's normal. Now we are missing 2 screws in these back corners, so we'll add those back in once we get to that point. So important to put screws back in. Screws serve a purpose, so we have them on our trucks. You have bags of 25, so these are 6/32. They're easy to swap out, it only takes a second. I'm going to don some gloves because we're going down the inside of a Bunn piece of equipment, so we know it's going to be honed, although this older equipment tends not to be as sharp as the newer equipment, but still not worth risking that, because then if I bleed bad enough, can't finish this job. And I want to get it done today. There we go, we are on the inside. Now if we were to go further, this actually isn't too bad at all. So next we're going to swap out this motor. I tend to be able to fit it in through here, so I do. I can see where someone might not be as excited to try to do that, but for me, it's not too bad. Now the machine is unplugged, so I'm not going crazy and doing this live. This is where I would say definitely don't do it live, because now we are in 120 volt land down inside this machine. So, and like I said, this is more of a preventative maintenance thing. I think this motor probably could keep rolling and rock, you know, keep going for a while yet, but I just get uncomfortable when I see, you know, the age of this, and you know, it's a returning call and it's a popular flavor, so I just, it's easier just to swap it out today, be done with it. So our cable's down on the inside, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I have the motor ready to go. That way I don't walk away and lose this down on the inside, because then I have to go on a fishing expedition and I'm not feeling it today. Alright, new motor's here. I'm just going to take my hand, hold up the cable, unplug, and now we're going on a fishing expedition. Not as bad as one as I thought it was going to be. Alright, this is where it gets a little tricky. We're going to take him, and if we can just get there, and boom, in. I made that look a lot easier than it probably would be the first time you try something like that. I've been doing this way too long, so I'm going to drop a glove though, because there's no way I'm going to get a screw started with a glove on. As nice as our gloves are, that ain't going to happen. Got our one, and don't ever try to tighten all your screws all at once. It's easier just to start, or do one at a time, get them all started. Otherwise you're going to have yourself a nightmare. So just like that. Alright, so swapped out, get our cover back in, replace a couple of our switches. You can see this guy's getting up there in age, starting to leak a little bit. So it's good to swap these out. They're relatively inexpensive, so we've probably saved yourself a return trip on this one. Alright, motor's installed, we're ready to go. Next thing we have, handful of replacement screws. These are on every one of our trucks. So we've got 743, 308, 832nd by quarters. So screws typically serve a purpose. Put them back where they were if they're not there. The other thing also, if you really are getting after those screws and they're starting to get a sharp point, remember, people clean in here, so don't leave anything sharp. If you have the ability, just give them some new screws. These are really inexpensive. I want to say these bags are, it probably costs more to put them in a bag than the screws actually cost. So, you know, think about the next person. Remember, they're washing stuff. They might have, you know, kind of wet hands, and it's really easy to cut yourself on stainless steel, so don't leave any sharp points for anybody to deal with. Oh my goodness. You turn a camera on and immediately you can't put a screw in. Tell ya. Once again, rule of thumb, start all your screws before you tighten them, because boy oh boy, I'll tell you what, these panels like to get crooked, and if they're crooked, you ain't getting it in. So, that's all in good repair. Alright, next we got this guy. It's possible all we have to do is pop this up. Pop this out, and we're gonna be good. But it's also possible that it's broken. I had a feeling we're on the broken side. Yes. So, they're not supposed to come apart. So we will, we'll replace this. Alright, 404 269. Definitely want one of these on your truck. If you don't have one, definitely make sure you get one. Once again, we are here just working on this cappuccino machine because it's not dispensing powder. But at the end of the day, when you're working on a piece of equipment, and if you have the time and you don't have to get to that next service call immediately, it's worth just taking the time to get these things squared away so it works for the store. Alright, sticker removed. Let's get this guy installed. Then we'll be able to put all the powder back in here and get this one working for him. No calibration needed. We didn't do anything that's going to affect the calibration values on here. So, nice, simpler work order. And you know what you're thinking. All you veterans out there, you're like, yeah, I know this. I've done a billion of these. Well, we're not all veterans. So, it's good to just do the simple stuff and have a reminder about all the things and the little extra things you can do while you're on site that are going to make a difference for the store and make a difference for our customer. And I swear I know how to use a screwdriver. I just happen to be at a weird angle. It's a little hard to use a screwdriver when your camera's in front of you. Alright, new and installed. Pulls nice. We're in good shape. The door's a little tired and a little old, so it's getting caught up on the bottom. But otherwise, looks good. We gotta get this back panel on, and once again, we're missing a screw, so we're gonna slap some screws in here and get this all straightened up. I might try to replace a couple of these guys. They are cracked out, but if I can get the right length screw, I might be able to get this door to kind of stiffen up a little bit. Alright, everything's wrapped up on here. Power's still off. I'll get that plugged back in. So the key thing to remember when we're working on any of this, anytime you watch the stores clean it, they wear gloves. So if you're going to be working and taking any of these plastics off, wear your gloves, wash your hands, make sure you do any of that. Food serving equipment, and we'll get all the powders back in here. And then we're going to test everything, make sure it works correctly, and then we'll get this one back into service and start working on number 2. Alright, final check. Let's make sure everything's going to work how we want it to. All of our buttons are nice and green and all the same color. Put him in. Press. We got powder. We got spin. We got water. I'm actually letting off of the button right now. So you can see I'm just lightly pressing the button and we are getting powder. So problem solved.